On everybody, this is Shalyness Love, and I just wanted to read something to you guys. This is all regarding Monster Kody, obviously, aka Sanyika Shakur, passed away just, I believe it was June 8th. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little background because I know that with him being a previous gang member and all this, and a lot of people don't know a lot about him because they're just too ignorant to do so. I am again protecting our fallen that actually were doing good things, and that's what I did with DMX, and I'm going to also do it for him. I did it for Nip. So here we go. Kody Scott was such a notorious neighborhood gangster that school children trembled at the thought of passing by his Los Angeles home out of fear he'd pick a fight or steal their bikes and lunch money, like Debo. That's like butterflies, said Skip Townsend, a former gang member, now a community activist who works with Second Call, a community based organization that serves high risk individuals. It's like, man, my stomach gets jittery because we have no idea what Kody is going to do. But on this day, as Townsend and a schoolmate passed by his 69th Street and Florence and Normandy Avenues, they happened to catch Scott on a good day. They're talking about Monster Kody. Townsend's schoolmate told Scott he had a stomach ache and was just trying to get home, so he was scared. Scott patted him on the back. "All right, I'll see you tomorrow," he said, then sent them on their way, unscathed. The curious life of Monster Kody Scott was soon to emerge as cautionary tale of redemption and relentless tug of gang life. A well-known gangbanger in the 1970s, Scott remarkably became a motivational speaker and best-selling author of a 1993 memoir that took a sobering look at gang life in LA. The book, which followed his journey from violence toward transcendence, arrived at a time when much of America outside of LA and New York City was still unaware of gang culture. You got to remember, this is way back in like the 70s, 80s, whatever it was. Although Scott escaped death numerous times as a member of the 8 Trey Gangster Crips, then became an author who counseled others to avoid gang life, the 57-year-old was found dead on June 7th at a homeless encampment near the San Luis River Trail on Oceanside. San Luis River Trail on Oceanside, according to the San Diego County Medical Examiner's Office. Scott's girlfriend discovered his badly decomposed body in a tent, said Tom Bussey, a public information officer for the Oceanside Police Department. It appears Scott died of natural causes and not foul play, though the cause of death has yet to be determined, Bussey said. Scott, who changed his name to Sanyika Shakur, marking his rebirth and the end of his gang career, had a complex life. For every step forward, he seemed to take at least one step back. That sounds like a lot of people I know, including myself. Despite his promising career in Hollywood, his memoir was discussed as a possible film by Training Day director Antoine Fuqua. Never materialized, Scott wound up being placed on LA's most wanted list for allegedly stealing a car, a potential third strike that would carry a long prison term, and living at an Oceanside homeless encampment. But within the last year, he was working on another book and in talks with a streaming service about adapting his story and launching a podcast, said Leo. Pretty Boy Smith, a former gang rival who planned to co-host the podcast. Born Kody Dejan Scott in November 1963 to Bertie Scott, he discovered later that his father was LA Rams running back Dick Bass, who died in 2006. He told 60 Minutes in an interview with Steve Croft in 1993 that his godfather was singer Ray Charles, a family friend. Oh, that's awesome. See? Positivity. Scott was initiated into the 8 Trey Gangster Crips on the day of his 6th grade graduation at age 11. By age 13, he had been given the nickname Monster after beating a man so badly that police told bystanders the person responsible for the attack was a monster. The name stuck, and for several years, Scott worked to live up to his moniker. After years of moving up the gang ranks and then being shipped to prison for crimes like possession of an assault rifle, Scott decided to trade in his gang career, converted to Islam, and strived to dissuade other youth from joining gangs. While in prison, he wrote the frighteningly authentic memoir Monster, the autobiography of an LA gang member, which was published in 1993. That's a must read, okay? Leon Bing, a fashion model turned journalist, was the first writer to bring Scott to the attention of the world beyond LA in her 1991 book about gang life, Do or Die. Scott is photographed shirtless on the book's cover with dark shades and a MAC 10. Bing remembers him being an avid reader whom she considered intelligent and someone who could easily hold his own when they playfully traded insults. One day while Scott and Bing were riding in the back seat of a car, through the hood, she recalls asking him to show her his mad dog face. He took his cap and turned it around to the side like a way a kid who's trying to look tough would, and he crossed his eyes and stuck the tip of his tongue outside of his mouth and said, "Scary, huh?" she recalled. People really respected him in the hood, and people who were afraid of him, I think, were afraid of all the wrong reasons, she added. He was not looking to show off strength. He just was who he was, and he wasn't a show-off. At Scott's request, while he was incarcerated, Bing helped him coordinate a toy drive at a local children's hospital with then 15-year-old Bernard Cooper, a young member of the 8-Tray gangster Crips. "I was excited to get a letter from Monster Kody," said Cooper, the young boy, now 49 years old and running a recovery program for former gang members and felons. "Of all the little young kids out here, he chose me." Cooper, who joined the gang at age 13, said Scott took him and other recruits to the gun range where he shared street game with them. "People just assume that he closed off because of the stories that they hear about him or whatever, but I've never had nothing but love from him," he said. "Even when he ran with my mother's 25 automatic, my mother was chasing me around about it, and he said he needed it, so I let him get it, even though he never gave it back." Despite his reputation, people closest to him said that they rarely or never saw the monster side of him. I wanted to go back to this for a minute. "When he ran off with my mother's 25 automatic and my mother was chasing me about it. He said he needed it, so I let him get it, even though he never gave it back." I think he was just taking it away from him so he wouldn't use it. "So, of course, I heard about the violence, and I also read in the book, but I never met Monster Kody," said Sanyika Shakur II, 31 years old, Scott's youngest son. "I always saw Pops," he added. "He was like the older best friend. This was the guy that comes in, he's ready to play all day. My mom was probably at home taking care of all the business and getting on our behind. He comes in, he wants to play, crack jokes, tickle, play fight, things like that." Before Scott died, he also made amends with Smith. The two had grown up in the same neighborhood and knew each other's families. But when Smith joined a rival gang, the Rolling 60s, they became enemies. In 1981, Smith was arrested for allegedly shooting Scott. Smith was found not guilty, and a decade later, while both he and Scott were in prison, Smith wrote him a letter to congratulate him on his book. From there, they began sending letters back and forth. Early last year, the two talked about starting a podcast together that would detail their upbringing, their fallout, and eventual reconnection. But Smith struggled to get in contact with Scott, who was always on the go. A lot of youngsters could have seen, wow, these two big-name rivals get together, so if they can get together, everybody else can turn around and say, well, if they can do it, we can do it, Smith said. Scott's son was pragmatic about the arc of his father's life. It's the underdog story. It may not have had its glorious ending, but shit, life always isn't a fairy tale, he said. As real as it can be, this guy was a compassionate guy. This guy was a loyal guy and a hell of a writer. Just charismatic and person you love to be around. Now, those are the positive sides of Mr. Kody. You know what I'm saying? Monster Kody. He is not that evil monster that everybody tries to make him out to be. And I don't want to even start on any people that are going to come on here talking about, oh, he was just a gang member. Why are you guys glorifying a gang member? He did this, he did that. He did more good than he did bad, because he actually converted back in the 80s, okay? And he was born in the 60s. He wasn't even that old when he did that. So most of his life was doing for good. He got involved in some things. Yeah, we all do. They marked him. Once you're a mark with the police, that's it. You're just a mark. And it's just that. And, I'm going to be having another video that's going to show you a part of an interview that he had that I going to be talking about. So I'm not going to give you too much info because I want you to go watch it. But yeah, he's not all that bad. He did some things. He was young, and I don't agree with these gangs bringing young kids in like that. It's just, oh God, it just gets under my skin. And, it's a thing, but that's just me. Anyhow, go watch my next video. I'll talk to you later. Peace.